Tony from Buildium here, the platform that helps property managers master their everyday operations, make their residents feel at home, and take on more doors. Today I'm talking with Beau Miles from Essential Property Management in Madison, Alabama about his first 90 days with Buildium, the full onboarding experience, and how he jump-started his residential property management business from scratch. We wanted to put this interview together for those property managers who are truly considering Buildium, want to grow fast, and understand the kind of support that they're going to get. Great to be talking with you today, Beau.
It's great to see you, man. How are you?
Oh, good. It's it's been definitely a crazy last 6 months, like everybody knows. But yeah, here we are.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, not a problem. So first off, tell me a little bit about Essential Property Management.
Basically, we started when I became a landlord, and it's kind of a weird story, but essentially I became a real estate agent and did what every good real estate agent does. And I bought a house that I found like within 6 months. I said, I saw shiny things. So I went after it. And so we buy this house. We still had this other one to deal with. And my wife and I agreed to go ahead and just let somebody rent it out. And during that time, we began to see what it really meant to be a property manager. But also during that time, I was talking to my friends who were wanting to get into real estate. And they just kept saying, oh man, I really want to do it. I really want to do all these different things, but gosh, I'm scared. Oh, I've got the money, but gosh, I'm scared. What if this happens? What if that? What if they call me at 2 a.m. about a broken toilet? And I just said, guys, nobody has called me at 2 a.m. about a broken toilet. In fact, these guys at that point had not called me at all. And I'm at that point probably been doing it 6 to 9 months. And so they had been great. They paid the rent. They've been great tenants. And then they said, well, I still just am scared. And I said, well, hire a property manager. Well, then they said, hey, man, that cost me too much money. It took too much money out of their cash flow is the way that they were seeing it. And so they were kind of stuck in this rock and a hard place. And so I started looking around at what other property managers were doing and seeing their fees. And then I started finding out this really weird thing that a lot of them only allowed rent to be paid with a check, like a hard check. And I thought, who was using checks in 2020? Because typically you're not renting as a whole. I mean, this isn't universal. You're not renting to the age group that typically uses checks. You're typically renting to millennials who go out to eat and pay each other on digital apps, And so I was like, who is doing this? And then to get a key, you had to go and drive all the way across town to drive right back and you had to do all these things. And I thought, man, this sounds terrible. This needs to be changed. It needs to be disrupted. And so we saw a need to help our landlords save money, to make life easier and better for tenants to where they could pay with credit cards or bank accounts or whatever. In fact, you guys give me the option. I don't even allow manual payments. I mean, if we have a special situation, we do it. But as a whole, I require EFT and credit card. And so we found a need to make it better for the end user in today's world, to update it, to bring property management into 2020, truth be told.
Next question I have for you is, the first 90 days are really always important when you're trying to get set up on new technology, let alone kick off a new business and disrupt a local market. What were your first 90 days like starting off with Buildium?
Probably to kind of explain it, you should know that I have a lot of technical background. I'm not worried about when, you got to learn this new software. Great, I'll learn it. No problem. I'm not a genius with it, but I'm not scared of it.
Sure.
So I'd done your demo, like your videos, and then I had met with you guys and y'all had done your onboarding, not your class. It's just your hey, let me show you what this is, because I'd signed up for the free trial.
Sure.
And at this point, I only had 2 properties and I was just trying to learn it and understand it. And I thought after I had my 10-minute long demo, 30-minute long demo, I thought, I got this, no problem. And then I get this email from you guys going, we need to have your onboarding classes. And I'm like, I don't need this. This is silly. But you know what? I'll trust the system. Mm-hmm. They know what they're talking about. I'm going to trust it. Mm-hmm. And so I did. And within our first class, I learned there was a whole lot I did not know about this. And so Sean was my onboarding guy, and Sean began to walk me through the accounting side, how to take care of customers, how to do task and how to update task and how to stay in communication with my landlords, how to deal with 1099s, how to do all these different things that all I thought was I need to bring rent in, take management fees out, and send it to the owner, and then be able to handle a phone call.
Right.
That was really kind of my thought process. I hadn't thought about applications. I hadn't thought about background checks. I hadn't thought about credit checks. I hadn't thought about I sure didn't think about a 1099. Sure. I didn't think about, even just the accounting. I thought, well, I'll hire an accountant and I'll just deal with it. It'll be a cost of doing business. Mm-hmm. And within one meeting, so it's not even the 90 days. This is probably day 5. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting with Sean I'm just looking at the screen going, whoa, I didn't know this was a thing. And so then we began to progress, and we formed a cool relationship. I call Sean a friend, because we got to where we were talking, I think it was about once a week or once every 2 weeks, give or take.
Sure.
We had several classes where we would just sit down and talk, and it was wonderful because he would accidentally leave you with homework. And what I mean by that is he would just say, hey, during this week, try these 5 things. Right. Well, I would go try 5, got it, no problem. And then during that kind of led me down a rabbit trail to find other things I didn't know anything about. And I would spend that time between it getting questions. So when Sean showed back up a week or 2 weeks later, boom, first thing that happened, Sean, I got all these questions. Let's review this and this and this, but here's my questions. And so I would say my first 90 days were an incredible learning experience, and one that I was guided and taken care of from moment one with.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. And, from our own personal experience, or my own personal experience at Buildium, Sean is an incredible human being. So I think that it's amazing you got to work with him. And clearly, like, that kind of onboarding experience is something that we strive for. We strive for those personal connections. Now, when you were looking at, Buildium as a platform, I'm curious, and honestly, the onboarding was, maybe a bit of a surprise for you. But what were some of the must-haves that you were looking at?
Lots. Ease of use. It needed to make sense. It needed the dashboard. If for everybody looking, just go look at the dashboard that is shown on all the websites. That dashboard is my lifeline because it's got all these tiles that keep me up to date. I didn't even know I needed that. What I knew I needed was flexibility. Because of the way we do our pricing structure, we have different packages, sure. And we charge different amounts every month based off of what's happening. Essentially, is kind of the version. I mean, that's a summarizing of it all. But right. But I needed to be able to log in at any time, see that. I needed to be able to have mobile access. I travel a whole lot. We have some growth plans that we're working on, and I needed to be able to be from an iPad, from a computer, or from a phone. I knew I needed communication. So that's really the only things I knew I needed were flexibility and pay structure, and to be able to communicate with both my landlords and tenants. And then as soon as I got into the demo, to see the way it was all laid out for me, to keep up with balances for late fees, to keep up with tasks and what's going on, to keep up with even the ability to keep up with my contractors and my employees in it. And there's one that I'd never even thought about that is a great metric. There's a little pie graph, and it just how many you have, how many are listed, how many are full, how many aren't listed, and it's a summation of your business right there. And since I log in every day and I look at it, I've been able to watch my company grow just this one little tile, and it's been great. We love it.
That's great to hear. And I know we talked about Sean and the relationship that you have with him and how important that is. But we also talked about how important relationships are in our industry. How do you feel about the people side of doing business with Buildium sort of beyond that initial onboarding experience?
So there would be times that I would just have a quick question. Hey, I don't know this one little thing. Sean's not my everyday guy. Y'all have a whole support staff that I can call at any time. And we'll go back to the 1099 thing. So I messed up a 1099 with an owner. I put them both down. They both got a 1099. So their accountant calls and it's like, yo, you got to fix that because they're reporting double income. I didn't know that I had done that. I didn't realize that I had because I was ignorant on it. And so the accountant's like, hey, you just got to file an amended. And I'm online Googling how to amend a 1099. I'm not a tax guy in any form. I'm a customer service, big vision guy. You start talking to me about 1099s and W-2s and W-9s, and I'm gone, right? I hire people for that. I don't want to be that guy. And so, which if you are that person, thank you, you're a great person. But so I'm like getting nervous and how do I fix this? And I was really blessed because I called and somebody said, oh, no. Get in there, click on the 1099 tab on the top right-hand corner file, hit amend your 1099. And I was able to find the exact one I wanted, hit amend and hit a send button. And that was a 5-minute phone call, quickly handled, very politely handled. Anytime that they can't answer the phone in the first little bit, there's the whole call you back thing. Within 30 minutes, usually, give or take, somebody's called me. And they always answer my question. And if they can't answer it, they go, hold on. And they go, I assume at one point, because we're pre-COVID, I assume at one point they were all in the office together because they would say, hold on, I'll be right back. Put me on hold. I'm right back. Yeah. And they'd be got some guy
at one
here.
Point. Now, moving on to the next question, how is business doing in light of the pandemic? I mean, how is leasing? Yeah. And this is really a unique time for a lot of people.
Yeah. So we are very fortunate, blessed that we are, as of today, which is the middle of August, that we are completely 100% rent paid up.
Wow, incredible.
We did not. The only thing we had is we had one tenant who said, can I split my payment up? And we had one who missed a payment because he got hacked. Not because of COVID. He got hacked and his bank messed up the EFT and all those different things of that nature. But other than that, there's been nothing. Now, we live in a part of the world where we are very fortunate. We have lots of engineers who are able to go home and work and do different things of that nature. But even beyond that, I do attribute a lot of that success to Buildium in that we went from, I was scared. How are we going to, I've got landlords depending on me to get their money. And we went from the ability to pre-Buildium, not communicate. Right. Now it's an easy email. It goes to them. It's resident reminder. It goes to them and says, don't forget your rent's due. Hey, don't forget. It adds late fees when late fees need to be there. It does everything to that regard. It sends a, hey, you're late notice to them. And so they're getting told every day, you got to pay us. And what that also has done is it's opened the communication with me where I'm able to message them directly from that app. They don't have my cell phone number and say, hey, is everything okay? You usually pay on the 26th. It's the 30th. I want to make sure everything's okay. I want to make sure you're okay here and here and here. I've had landlords reach out to me and say, please, if one of our tenants is having a problem because of COVID, right, please let me know. And so it's made it to where the communication level is so high through Buildium that they feel, I wouldn't say obligated, but they feel a sense of responsibility and pride in making sure that they are paying our company, but paying their rent on time. And so because of that, we've been very fortunate to be able to maintain great relationships with our tenants. They've all been safe and good from everything we know. Nobody has reached out, but we do constantly reach out. I mean, you guys have a text messaging platform, an email platform. I mean, you've got all these ways that I can reach out to them just to check and see how they're doing. And that has been wildly beneficial during this time. That's
great to hear. Now, could you quantify the ROI or the time saved that you've experienced through tools like that? I'm just curious, because I know you're starting off.
I don't even know if I could quantify it in ROI. It would be a weird version of it in terms of I don't have to hire somebody else. I'm right now the only employee, only full-time employee. And right now, you asked where we went from. So it's August. We got real serious about it in February of 2020. Right before the pandemic. At that time, I think we had 5. We now have 17 properties.
Wow. Congratulations. It's huge growth.
And we expect to add, I think I've got 6 more signed up to come on this month, in the next 10 days or so. And so we are, our goal was 15 for the year and we're at 17 and it's August. So we're now, my wife and I sit around and go, do you think we could double it? And it's kind of fun. We're just kind of having fun because it's manageable. So when you say ROI, how do you quantify it? If you told me to sustain this much growth, deal with contractors, deal with payments, deal with taxes, deal with accounting, deal with any problems, any of that, I feel like by this point, I would have had to hire somebody.
Right.
Well, we're not at the stage where we can afford a full-time person. It's just the side of being a small business. It's just for this time period.
Right.
Well, I'm not spending all day on the computer dealing with property management either. So I think if we said, let's say I was paying a guy, I don't know, $50,000 a year. I don't know the number. I don't know what I would pay him. Whatever that salary would be, plus my time. I'm able to, I was on vacation and we had a problem, and I think I was on the beach, like answering. And so when you say, how do you quantify it? My answer is, I don't know if there's a way. It's brought me freedom. It's brought me peace of mind. It's brought me relaxation. It's brought me not having to hire yet. It's allowed me to grow at the pace in which my business needs to grow at. So I don't know if I could quantify it in terms of a real dot.
It's okay.
Unquantifiable is the quantification.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's brought you like a new livelihood in a very short amount of time. And it sounds like that it's fitting for now. It fits into the lifestyle that you want. Yeah.
Oh, it's very much so. I have 2 kids. I have a 5 and a 3-year-old, and I have a beautiful, greatest wife ever. I am a very fortunate man, and I still have a real estate business we're running. I still have of course, the property management company, and I have other people talking to me right now about starting other businesses, and property management is not taking so much of a lion's share of my time that I can't think on those things. It allows me the freedom to do that. And that is purely because of Buildium. If I was having to keep up with emails and figure this out and go to an accountant once a week, I would have quit by now. I would have been done.
So let me ask you this. So it sounds like you're growing fast. What are your goals over the next, say, 5 years? Where do you want to be?
That's hard. Because the goal, probably to start, is the goal was 15. And then we thought, man, I really want to have 30 by the end of year 2. Because I thought if we could have 30 by year 2, we would just be an established, great place. The goal was probably after that to double that. That year 3 would be like 60. Well, we hit 15 already. We're now kind of moving the goal to 30. And so that's been a lot of the conversation in our home is, what's the goal? Well, the way Essential is built is that Essential is not successful with 20 properties. Like, it just doesn't, we charge less than our motto is your properties managed your way, which I think Buildium helps with that, by the way, to allow the customization. But we are working hard to grow at such a sustainable pace that we don't leave people behind. And so if you were to say, what is it? I'm like, well, the truth is to get as many properties. The long-term forever goal is to be in multiple cities, have 10,000 properties if we can. We want to be bigger and bigger. But if you were to tell me the truth is, we are only 6 hours from the beach. So there's like a half of us that I think we're probably talking about opening a beach office.
Oh, okay.
So that we can write off our beach trips,
Well, then I guess we'll have to visit you there.
Yes, come on.
All the more reason. That's great. It's great to hear that, you're thinking about how you can grow down the line. And when that new business has coming in, are you finding that it's coming in from word of mouth? Like how are you finding that you're generating new business these days?
Yeah. So I'm a real estate agent. I spend a lot of time just on other websites talking about, or like on forums, messaging about property management. And we do live in a city that has just substantial growth. So it's either coming in through other websites who are saying, oh, I saw your name on this site as a property manager. That's not as popular as it is just word of mouth from landlord to landlord or real estate agent to real estate agent, because there was a need for better customer service, a way to save money, a way to take care of people at all times. And I think in light of everything that's happened in our country in terms of COVID, I think that a lot of people are nervous. They're scared of what it looks like to own real property right now. And I work really hard to give them that peace of mind. When I meet with them, and, I have one customer who is upside down in their house, but they can't afford the mortgage. And so what they did is they moved to a cheaper house and they moved in with somebody. And now I'm renting their house out for them. and now they're making more than the mortgage payment and are able to help pay down some of this stuff so that they can get back in the right place. And
Right.
so that has come through word of mouth from our other real estate agents, our other landlords. I've had a lot of landlords go, "You've got to call Beau." And so we've been really, really blessed in that.
That's great. And I mean, since you're coming from like a brokerage or a real estate broker background, I'm curious what other advantages or benefits you had coming from that place and then moving into property management.
Oh man, look, I'm a nerd. I'm on Books on Tape, podcast every day. Like all I do is read and do that stuff when I'm out and about. Now, when I'm at home, I try to be dedicated to have that family time, but I try to learn every day. I had a mother who, before she passed, was an educator, and she just taught us to learn. And so when you say, well, you came from a real estate side, how did it help? Well, two things. One, in the state of Alabama, to be a property manager, you have to be a broker.
Sure.
To be a broker, you have to have 2 years of experience as a salesperson. And so I immediately knew I wanted to be a broker just because I liked the certification level. Before I ever even signed up to be a salesperson, I was wanting to do that. And so when I realized this property management, I said, hey, this will work together. And so during that same time, I was constantly studying websites about landlords, and we would go have beers with the friends and talk about being a landlord and dreams. And none of us had kids at this time. And gosh, what would it look like to own properties? And so I heard a lot of complaints from people and fears from people. And then I would read about those fears and read, some were founded, some weren't. And then I got into real estate and I started finding deals where I had never found deals, and started really running rental numbers where I had never really run rental numbers. And then what happened is it taught me how to handle people. Because look, we've all had a real estate deal that just somebody's mad. So for some reason, they're an angry elf, and that's just what's going on. And it taught me how to listen and care about them and figure out a solution to the problem. And that came through real estate. And so because of that, when it became time to be a property manager, you'll get somebody who calls and goes, oh man, I had one lady who called one time and said, the lights on the outside of my house are ugly. Will you change them? And I said, no. When you rented the house, they were there. I didn't say it that way. It was something to the effect, look, I'm really sorry you don't like them. Unfortunately, we're not making any cosmetic changes to the home at this time. If they're not working, please let us know. We will get that addressed. And so in that moment, I was able to say, this is what we're going to address. This is what we're not going to address. And she wrote me back and said, but they're really ugly. And I said, I'm really sorry. We're not doing cosmetic changes. And she said, would you want these on your house? And I said, ma'am, I'm just telling you, we're not doing cosmetic changes. And she wrote me back and said, well, can I do it? And I said, if you get a certified electrician to do it, then have a great time and we'll be fine. And she went and changed the lights. And now I've been to the house and the lights are not as ugly. So that's good. But real estate kind of just taught me to let people have a voice, let people complain, let people be mad, because they're typically not mad at you. And Buildium gave me the way to put that into systems and to put that into tasks and to put that into an order to where there was a proper channel for that to be handled. This wasn't a phone call that I was getting on Saturday when we were watching football. This was an email that I got on Saturday talking about ugly lights. Or a task that I got. I don't have to address that, right? Because it's not a fire, and I'm hanging out with my buddies watching football. And so because of that, I would say real estate taught me to find a level of importance of things, let people talk, let people have their voice. It also taught me this one kind of sort of negative thing, that nobody wants to do the work. I don't understand this, but when I would tell people I was going to start a property management company, other agents, they would go, oh, don't do it. It's the worst thing you'll ever do. All you're going to do is get phone calls and emails. It's going to be the worst thing. That's all I got told every time. I did not have one agent say, good for you. My broker said, awesome, we need somebody to fill that goal. And that was that hole. And that was about as positive I got. Other than that, everybody was super negative. And I would ask them, And it was just that, man, you're going to have to deal with people mad at you. You're going to have to deal with all this stuff. Nobody's mad at me, y'all. Nobody care. They care, but they just want to be heard. And Buildium gives you that platform to put it right there in front of it, allow things to cool if they are upset about stuff, or address things in a quick way. So here I am 6 to 8 months into it, and I've been doing it for a while, but with really pushing it hard on the Buildium side. We've been with Buildium for a year, and I learned it, and then I really got serious about it 8 months ago. Right. And here I am sitting here, I guess a year in, and all I ever get is, hey, the HVAC isn't working right? And I go, great, I'll try to get a guy out there as soon as possible. We're in Alabama, it gets real hot. And so we'll get them out there as quick as we can. We take care of it, we address it. I can share it with my landlords at one time. So I don't got to it's not even 2 emails, it's 1. It works perfect. And so I would just say, what did I learn? I learned that a little bit of research sends you to a great platform that takes away all those things that all those other agents were complaining about. Like, we were in a great place because of it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's some awesome insight. And with that, I think, for a lot of brokers or property managers who used to be brokers will probably relate to that. And especially those brokers who are thinking of getting into property management. I mean, coming straight from Beau, I think if you're a good communicator, then that just goes a long way in this business. Now, last question I want to ask you is, I heard about a couple of bottles of something special, whiskey, that made their way to our onboarding team. So could you tell me the story behind those?
Well, to clarify, it's bourbon. I'm a very
yes, excuse me.
Just whiskey. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm not a snob. I'm not that guy. No, what it was is Sean did an incredible job. And last year I was going with my buddy last October to Kentucky to the Bourbon Trail. And Sean was trying to set the appointment date for our next onboarding. And he said, hey, what can we do X date? I don't remember the date. And I said, nope, I'm going to be in Kentucky on the Bourbon Trail. And Sean said, oh, man, I really like bourbon. Where are you going? I was telling him all the distilleries we were going to. And I said, look, I'll send you a bottle. I'll find something special and send you a bottle. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything special. There was just a weird time of year. They didn't have any really great specials. But I came back home and I was like, I got to send Sean a bottle. Well, I went and bought one and drank it. And so then I was like, I should still not quickly, slowly. I just forgot to send it. So I had bourbon at my house on a Friday, and so I drank it. And so I went and bought that bottle again. And out of a feeling of guilt for lying to him for so long, I put an extra bottle in there and said, thank you for all you did. Because he earned probably 5 bottles from it. And so I undercut him still, but I'm still very, very grateful. But yeah, I mean, we'll probably need to send you one too. I got a feeling is what needs to happen.
No. I think you could call it liquid interest. But in any case, Beau, it's been great talking with you. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy day. And it was awesome to hear your story about how you got into property management and how you started using Buildium. So thanks again.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. You guys have a great day.